I'm Andrew Gaines. I'm with Stable Planet Alliance. We think that if we are to seriously address any of our major ecological issues, we have to change the system that drives our destruction. This cartoon by Tony Biddle is a good representation of the system. To help people have a more nuanced understanding of the system, we have a tool called Kitchen Table Conversations. Its purpose is to help people connect the dots of the major drivers that make ecological destruction worse. So let me show you how it works. I start by laying out these 4 circles, and I point out to people the connection that the more stuff we produce, the more CO2 emissions and other environmental damage. I then ask an open question. What factors in the way our society operates tend to make stuff go up as a proxy for these other things? And people sometimes say, what do you mean by stuff? Oh, well, that's pots, pans, cars, space stations, everything that's manufactured. So what makes stuff go up? People will say something like perhaps marketing. So I bring in the closest circle to that. Advertising. People might say, oh, well, people buy stuff because they're not happy. So we go down the psychological track. Retail therapy. Psychological disturbance. Some people compensate for that by feeling compelled to get the appearance of importance, high status. This psychological disturbance leads to a disconnection from our community, from nature, from spirit. So that's the psychological track. It becomes a presentation, as you can see. When we follow the track up above here from advertising, we go then to the trade agreements, international conventions designed to increase international trade. That's driven by corporate control of governments. And this system feeds the top 0.1%. Which actually includes all affluent people, not as the top 1%, but as people who are really supported by our current industrial economic system. The system is driven by devotion to economic growth. And at this point, I almost always stop and have a little conversation about economic growth. It's such a critical factor in what we actually need to change if we were to stop destroying our environment. Of course, population also increases the demand for resource use. And currently, this whole system is largely a domination control system rather than a partnership respect system. Contrast was articulated by Riane Eisler. So obviously, domination control is power over others. Once somebody said, well, Andrew, people like stuff. It's cheap, available. So I added that, but then I also added ignorance as a driver of ecological damage. People not grasping the system that we're all part of that makes things worse. This conversation is appropriate for people who are already concerned about climate change or other ecological damage. If they happen not to be so concerned as yet, then we have a preliminary conversation tool called escalating disasters. It's a series of images that are designed to bring home to people the reality of the terrible ecological trends, global warming, loss of the oceans, other environmental destruction. The purpose of these conversations, provided we can take it to scale, is to mobilize thoughtful public will to actually change, indeed transform our destructive system. Transform it to what? To transform it to a compassionate, just, ecologically sustainable world. This is the preeminent task of our time. Please work with us.